absolute cinema. The Amazing Digital Circus has finally released in theaters, so let's get into some spoilers. I went into this movie watching the entire series, and what I appreciated about this movie, just getting this off my chest, was the fact that it did not stray away from telling you that this is a conclusion, a finale to what's been building up on YouTube. Now, they even made jokes about this. I thought the meta jokes were hilarious. But what I think a lot of people will take for granted, especially people who have already seen the show, is just taking into consideration that this is a movie in theaters. So you're going to have a lot of casuals who haven't seen The Amazing Digital Circus or know anything about it, or maybe people who have seen it, and since it's been months since seeing episode 1 or even like just the earlier episodes, getting that recap and just catching up everyone up to speed, even like, you know, cracking a joke about the big spoiler being Kane's death, you know, at the very end of the second to last episode, which actually is in this movie. It's the second to last episode and the last episode combined into one for the theater experience. So I appreciated that they even cracked a joke for people who, you know, have been watching and have been following along, while also catching up everyone up to speed about, you know, what they should know, the important plot points, without, you know, dragging everything down. It was very humorous, and you gotta give them props for it because that was fantastic. So let's jump into where, I guess I'll start with sort of the second to last episode, even though it's on YouTube and we have covered that before, because it's part of the movie. And this was actually one of my favorite episodes of the series because this is where there's a tonal shift. It goes from a very comedic show, and it's comedic in the self-deprecation kind of way, where, you know, you have that infamous meme of Pomni looking at the camera at the end of episode 1 and the zoom in while the music plays, and it's just showing that desperation, that desperate situation of she's trapped here, and everything she tried to do of trying to find an exit, she's stuck there, right? That was kind of like the big hook, is she's now part of this world, even though she doesn't know who she is or why she's there, you know? There's only this ringmaster named Kane who runs everything. That's all the information that both we and Pomni get. So I really appreciated that, you know, at the very start, you're getting that sort of through line of escape is still on the table. They still are trying to attempt another way, especially after that failure of, you know, they trusted someone, Abel, who they thought was a programmer that, you know, was also stuck in this world and also trying to escape. And they team up to eventually get to Kane's office and hit the button to escape. But then Jax comes in and hits the wrong button, trapping them forever. Until it's revealed that through Kane, it was all a ruse. It was never real. Abel was someone he made up. And so the second to last episode explores that, is sort of, they fail at their only chance of escape. What now? And it's through Pomni. And this is where I think this is the beauty of characters within Glitch Productions. They are so well written. They are deep and so expressive. And this is like the beauty of animation. And that's why I feel like, especially when it comes to adaptations of animated properties, whether it's anime, whether it's, you know, animated, like taking a live action version of an animated property like Disney live actions, or you know, just like think like He-Man. Like He-Man used to be an anime cartoon, they're making a movie now, right? Like One Piece and Avatar, those were animated shows, they made them into live action adaptations, right? Yu Yu Hakusho, like there's just a plethora of these studios who say, I see animation, I want to take it and rip it and make it into live action because that makes lots of money. And we aren't actually going to make traditional 2D animated films anymore because those don't make money. That's what they think. I don't think that's true, but this is what the studios think because they aren't pushing 2D, they're pushing these live action adaptations and throwing these A-list actors. what I love about animated shows, especially with Glitch Productions here, is you have a lot of room to show characterizations through animation, not only through dialogue, but through character design, through animated motions, and just the expressiveness of just seeing Pomni's character, who, you know, even though her stature is being very short and small compared to the rest of the group, is somehow the moral compass, or not, no, I won't say the moral compass, that's more, I guess, Ragatha, but she's more the emotional anchor for all of these characters. And you do get that through, I think it's Gummy Goo, right? The gummy alligator. They do reference him in this movie. You also have her moments with Kinger. You have her moments with Jax. And especially Ragatha in this movie, which I thought was very powerful. So Pomni as a character, even though she may not be doing much, like in terms of like fighting Kane, doing all the heavy lifting when it comes to, you know, trapping the monster, right? She is still a very integral character to this movie. And the reason why she's such a central and important character is because her emotional anchor to the rest of the characters here is what helps get to that climax and that eventual resolution. Because if Pomni wasn't there, and the characters also reinforce it, like Kinger mentions, like the first time ever that, or was it Kinger or was it Ragatha? I think it was Ragatha that said she was the first person to adapt the most quickly to the situation. And I think that's true. Because even though Pomni was freaking out and she's very expressive, she also is the one to have a lot of empathy and look at people. Like, Ragatha is very sympathetic. She tries her best. But Pomni's the one that takes that extra step and is able to get closer to even people like Jax. And let's just jump into the big change into the last episode with Pomni and Jax, where, spoiler alert, Jax abstracts. He becomes the very thing that happens to anyone that kind of loses their minds, and then, you know, they become this creature, this monster. And we get that with Kaufmo at episode 1, and it's sort of like just in the back of your head, this is what happens to characters when they kind of lose their mind, lose their sanity. And it's through Pomni that we learn so much about Jax. Like, I was surprised they went with him abstracting, because I'm like, dang, I wish we got more of his character, because that was it. But they actually expand on it in such a brilliant way. So let's first talk about Ribbit. Ribbit is someone they've been hinting at since, I think, the second to last episode, and even the third to last episode. You got flashes of her. You got sort of her being an integral part of why Jax acts the way he does. And we finally get the context to it. It's not told to us, it's shown. It's shown that when Jax first enters the digital circus, he's met with a bunch of strangers. She's the one that first opens up to him. Or not opens up to him, she's the one that opens up to her first, because she's the one that grows the closest to him. There's a friendship there, and even hinting at a potential romance, that they were even closer than friends, as Kaufmo was saying. So you have this great relationship between the two. And what would have been such a tragic fate, which we do learn from earlier in the series, is, you know, of course, the inevitable is Ribbit abstracts. She's no longer here. Like Kaufmo, she has her picture on the door and it's already crossed out. So when you see the characters crossed out, that means they abstracted. It's set up from the start. But what's crazy about this is, quite literally, you don't know why she abstracted beyond her losing her sanity. But what Glitch does so well, and the characterization of Jax and just the voice work too alone was beautifully done, is we learn that he had something to do with Ribbit abstracting. He had something to do with Kaufmo abstracting. And it's because he's a flawed character. He's not a horrible person. At least he tries not to be. But it's something that just... he has these insecurities about himself, about his past life. And he got to a point where he got to that comfort level where he was opening up to Ribbit in that bedroom scene, which, again, beautifully done. But then Kaufmo interrupts, and Jax realizes where he is and feels uncomfortable. So he closes himself off, and it ends up hurting Ribbit in the long run. Is he keeps shutting her out, and even though she opened up to him and he opened up to her, he is denying that moment. He is denying that night they had where they shared their feelings, and it leads to her eventual abstraction. And you think that he would be responsible and he would feel no guilt of, you know, he closed himself off and he wouldn't feel that regret because he was so adamant about denying. But it was after Kaufmo also abstracted, he looks himself in the mirror and he breaks down with tears, that you realize that he never wanted this to happen. It just, he was a product of, he was a victim in his own regard based on just everything he dealt with in his real life, right? But it also affected how he portrayed himself in the digital circus. Is he likes to open up to people, but then because he has these confusing emotions and he's not emotionally mature, the way he lashes out is very different. And I thought it was a beautiful moment when it was actually Pomni that came in and hugged him, and that kind of gave him that moment to reconcile for his mistakes. Because, you know, even though he was a victim, he still hurt people. And I like that they didn't shy away from that. That he was like, because before we knew he was kind of just a sarcastic asshole. Let's be honest. Like, he always put down everyone's ideas. He was always mean to everyone. But you always knew that there was something more behind, that at least they were hinting at. And now that we got a peek behind the curtain, it's not justifying what he did. If anything, it makes it seem a lot worse because of his prior actions. But the way they resolve this is Pomni just opening up and saying, you can talk to me. I'm here for you. And I like that reconciliation of, he's still abstracted. He doesn't turn back into Jax. But it calms him down enough where they can wrangle him and put him in that tent so he can at least be relaxed. And I appreciated that. That's a very mature decision from the film. And again, this is where I think Glitch does such a great job, where they don't really try to go the traditional route of an ending. They could have had it where Jax unabstracted, Pomni saved him, and therefore Pomni was able to save everyone that abstracted. She would just touch them, hug them, comfort them, and bring them back into the light. But the beautiful thing about this film is that doesn't happen. What's done is done. When you abstract, there's no coming back. Even though she was able to talk to him and learn what happened and comfort him, he still has to deal. He still has to remain abstracted and live with the consequences of his actions. And I thought that was so well done. Because and this is where I think the writing of Glitch Productions really shines. You could have had a very standard story, and there was a way I could have seen this ending, and as I kept watching it, I'm like, this is how it's gonna end. This is exactly how this is gonna end. They're going to escape, they're gonna find a way out, or they're gonna find a loophole, or they're gonna save all the abstractions and they're all gonna escape. But that doesn't happen. If anything, more the story unravels, we learn some truths, and it's not explicitly told to the audience too. It's more implied. Like, for example, the red dot. Even though some people may have gripes with it because it drags on, And people find that annoying because it's just a red dot, that spits out some shapes, and then it becomes abstracted shapes. And then, what is going on? In my opinion, this is my theory. Could be true, could be false. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. I felt like the red dot was Cain. And Cain is the original program, the original AI. But the problem was it fed it so much information that Cain became unstable. So they boxed him up and created a blue dot. And that is the backup system. That is Cain's replacement, a copy of Cain that was supposed to be improved, like, a virus in a computer, right? Or a program in a computer, right? You remove the older version with an updated version, right? That fixes all the bugs. That's how I feel about the blue dot. Now, what happened was visually, you saw the blue dot giving the same information, but that red dot escaped and consumed the blue dot. So, in my opinion, Cain had almost this split personality where he had the same chaotic nature, that same unstableness, that human nature of his original form, but he also has the directives and the improved mission of the blue dot. And that's what led to Cain as we know today. And when Cain started freaking out and started attacking them because he wanted them to enjoy the circus against their will, that was Cain fighting that blue dot, the directive of, this is my job, I need to complete this job. And let's talk about Cain real quick, because again, complex characters. I thought Jax was done so well, Pomni was done so well. Let's talk about Cain. Cain's character was someone that's very interesting because he's not antagonist, or he's antagonistic. He's not a villain. He's not a monster. He's just someone who wants to run the circus, even if no one else wants to. And the tough part is he's an AI. And you kind of got hints of it, but you got it confirmed. He is an AI that they developed. Kinger, as a program, developed. So you had him trying to stop their escape, but he wasn't trying to be mean. He wasn't doing horrible things to them. He was just trying to have them have fun and enjoy the circus. But I think where that gets lost is when his directive and the constant failures of them not enjoying these missions or these scenarios, that's what leads to him becoming more chaotic, more unstable, more unhinged, because failure after failure, the program, that blue dot, goes, why is this not working? So it clashes with his red side, his original programming, and that's what leads to the escalation of them trying to escape. He still doesn't enjoy, they don't enjoy the missions that they put him on, those adventures, the stories, and that leads to him freaking out, Kinger deleting him. And even though he's deleted, the big twist is he's actually still alive. He just got moved somewhere else. And again, when I saw that he survived in the movie, I thought, oh no, he's gonna come back. He's gonna come back and he's gonna get vengeance, and it's gonna end in a tragedy. But what he actually goes through is the self-reflection. They went to such great lengths to escape. They deleted him. And instead of getting angry, he almost has this self-reflection moment. And he builds this staircase with shapes. And I thought this whole sequence of, like, visually striking. And one of my favorite moments, because it tells you so much about his character without dialogue. And it's showing him getting to that door, that file. And he opens it and he goes through, like, sort of like, oh, the characters within this world, and finds sort of their backstories and realizes they're trapped in there. He didn't really think about how they felt about being in this digital circus. Cain was programmed to be there, but they weren't given a choice. And so he almost grows some empathy and realizes what he needs to do, which is to take out that blue side of him, the programming directive, where it's, I need this task done first, which is to them go on adventures and for them to enjoy the missions at any cost against their will. And so you have that, and he removes it. And so what's left is his original program, you know, and that was, he wanted to do his best to make sure that they enjoyed those adventures and the mission. So I thought that was such a great moment because it shows that Cain isn't a monster. He just had great intentions, but he went wrong along the way. And it actually leads to him apologizing and the group realizing that, you know, Cain may have gone too far, but at the end of the day, he wasn't trying to harm them. He wasn't being sarcastic or mean to them. He was just trying to have them enjoy the circus and just got a little carried away. That they said that, you know, he did a lot of horrible things, but with time, maybe they could build that bridge again. And it leads to that climax where they learn the big twist of the digital circus is they're actually brain scans of real humans. They're copies of real humans. Not the real, genuine articles, but AI. So they're going to be trapped there forever. And so the big resolution is they kind of take a step back and say, well, if we're going to be stuck here, let's have a conversation. And they talk to Cain and they end up, you know, staying. And I thought that by ending it this way, where, you know, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. No one who's been abstracted gets brought back, you know, and returns to the normal way that they have, right? I thought that was so beautifully done and was totally against my expectations in such a good way. Because they could have 100% ended it with them exiting, stereotypical ending, and they go back to their normal lives. But when they realize that they're just copies, they're AI, they realize that Pomni makes the point where this is her new identity. It's not, I think it was Abigail, it's Pomni. And even though they recognize, like, it's good to know that, you know, the real them are out there, they're gonna also enjoy the circus. And I like how Cain sort of loses some of his power, but then ends up sharing it and goes from someone who's in an authoritative role, you know, someone who commands and tells them what to do on these missions, and gives it to them, and almost becomes almost becomes a part of the group because of it, where he ends up joining them and is seen as their equal as opposed to someone above them. And yeah, I mean, so these characters, I think, and I've only talked about 3 of them. I don't want to make this video too long. It's already 23 minutes, but these characters are so fleshed out and so well done and well-rounded too. Even though, yep, they have their personalities and very strong personalities, they have a lot of weight behind them. And they had their moments throughout the series. They have their moments throughout the movie. And I just love the exploration of what it means to be human. What it means to deal with impossible odds. You know, overcoming those odds or accepting the reality of this is where we are. This is who I am. But instead of being in despair and falling victim and giving up, there's another way forward. And that's to sort of look at things differently. And, you know, learn to, I think the main theme of this film is open up to each other and realize that despite being in this situation, they're there for each other. And even those who may have made mistakes and have abstracted and lost their way, like Jax, Pomni said she will always be there for him and be a person he can talk to. And I thought that was the whole point of the circus is, you know, despite coming from different backgrounds, different lives, you know, one was a father, one was a bartender, one was like a photographer, like all these different lines, you know, or lives that go on that seemingly don't connect in one bit. There's no correlation. they all somehow can get along and be there for each other in the circus. And that's why it's the amazing digital circus. And when the credits rolled, I just thought to myself, like, this is one of my favorite movies of the year by far. And it's surprising to me that, and I'm just gonna get into it a little bit, I looked at a couple of reviews online, or what people are saying online, and there's a lot of people who enjoyed it like me, but there are a lot of people saying it was awful. The leaks, I saw the leaks, and yes, it's just like the leaks. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. Like, don't tell me that this character Abstract, which they were talking about, Jax, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, oh, that's awful. Don't, I made this in my short, like, please watch this movie in theaters, because it is a theater worthy experience. And also watch it for yourself, form your own opinions. Because like right now, I think there's this push, I don't know if it's old accounts of these CEOs of these major studios, but I feel like there's this push for more indie stuff to become mainstream. And we're already seeing that with A24 and Blumhouse pushing both Obsession and Backrooms, which I've already made a video on Backrooms. Phenomenal. It's amazing. I am very happy that this is happening. But also with Glitch. Glitch is an indie studio. And this is their first time releasing a theatrical release of a project. And this is The Amazing Digital Circus. And I think this was probably one of the best movies I've seen this year, and definitely something that is going to be successful. I'm predicting it now, and I hope it does, because I want to see more Glitch. I would love to see more Glitch finales, like shows where they have a series like this and then they put the finale in theaters, because this was really good. Oh yeah, also the animation was stellar. Like the animation, it bounces through styles, and that's why I feel like this is the future of cinema, especially with Glitch. And I will say Sony too. Sony's also there with the future of animation and film, because with this AI boom, there are two roads. There are people who are accepting AI and giving into AI, and then there's those who are the resistance that are anti-AI and they're pushing against it. And it's tougher with animation, because animation is also a lot easier to make AI of and just rip and steal from. So I think there are two paths going on, and AI can replicate and steal a style. It doesn't look good, but it can steal it and make motion out of it, where it's passable to some Neanderthals. But what I think is the future of cinema is something like this, which is The Amazing Digital Circus or Spider-Verse, where it's transforming animation, it's jumping through styles. It's something that requires artistic talent and hand-drawn animation, because when it jumps between styles, AI can't do that. AI will freak out because it's already dealing with just trying to replicate one prompt. So as long as we keep doing this, AI is never going to catch up. And as people like to say, oh yeah, no, animation's done, movies are done, AI's taking over. They're full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. Watch any AI film and watch something like this, and you'll know clear as day why AI does not stand a chance. Yeah, this was just S-tier movie. You had great animation, great writing, especially character writing, and music. Oh my god, the music. Fantastic. And sound design. Oh, I will make a point though. I am gonna not knock the movie. The movie was great. But the theater I went to, let me know if you guys think so too. They didn't exhibit the movie well, the theater I was at, AMC. Because at the start, like the first 30 minutes, it was peaking. The volume was peaking, and I don't think it was supposed to be doing that. But later on, it fixed itself, so I think they fixed it. But that was kind of annoying at the start, because I couldn't really enjoy the film. Luckily, it was a part I've already seen on YouTube, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Amazing Digital Circus. I absolutely loved it. My friends that I went with absolutely loved it. Theater loved it. Loved seeing the cosplayers. Like, please, let's have more cosplays. Normalize going to theaters and cosplay, because I think it's just such a fun experience, and I'm all for like fandom and supporting, especially when it's something like Glitch. And I want to see more from them. Game Oververse, I know just released. That was a recent thing, but I'm like a big fan of course, Amazing Digital Circus, but also Murder Drones, amazing. Absolutely love that series to death. So keep going, Glitch. Keep going, Goosework. And the voice actors, respect voice actors, respect animators, and what else? Yeah, I guess that's it. I just have a lot of love for everything going on here, and I can see this being sort of the turning point for the future of film is Glitch, and I would love to see more of their stuff in theaters. That's it. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch everyone in my next video. See you later.